Tubies, it's Psychic Bob. It is so awesome to be back with you guys. Well, I'm sitting here today looking at this beautiful little blue cross pendant. Some of you guys say, Psychic Bob, what's that? Why are you wearing a cross? I thought you were a Wiccan. Well, I am a Wiccan. But today we're going to talk about the cross, the magical power of the cross, and how you might want to incorporate a cross into your life. And we're going to learn about what the mystery is of the blue cross. Come on along. You know, I know a lot of you are going to be surprised saying, Psychic Bob, why are you wearing a cross? We thought you were a Wiccan. Did you convert back to Catholicism? No, I'm still a Wiccan. But what I've come to realize about the cross is that many of us in the magical community have thrown away what is actually a very powerful and sacred symbol. Let me tell you about that. Now, for many people, especially in the Wiccan community, when they see the cross, they instantly think of the pain and oppression that has been caused by many who wear this symbol. But you know what? It doesn't have to be what traditionally you thought it to be. Many of us, when we join the Wiccan movement or our alternative spiritualities, throw away our crosses and don the sign of the pentacle. The pentacle is the traditional symbol of the Wiccan movement. But maybe it's time to re-examine the value and power of the cross. You know, I've been doing research into the history of the cross. I used to love to wear crosses. Well, you know me, I love to wear jewelry of any type, especially sacred jewelry. And these days I find myself able to wear the cross again because I've come to see it in a bigger light, in a different light. You know, if you want to learn about the cross, I might encourage you to explore some old books from the Rosicrucians. The Rosicrucians are a mystic order, and they study ancient symbols. This is a book of symbols. Here's the Rosicrucian cross. And if you look at that, it's got pentacles on it, and it's very magical. According to my Rosicrucian readings, there are, the cross goes back way beyond Christianity. In fact, according to these books I've been reading, the earliest cross came out of Phoenicia, and it was what we call today the Tau cross. Here's an example of the Tau cross. It looks like a letter T. And the Tau cross was believed to represent the intersection of humanity and divinity. So like the human world and the divine world crossing. And so it represented man's reaching out to the gods. And this sign today is actually interestingly used by the Franciscans to represent the Franciscan order, the order of St. Francis, because it looks like a monk with his arms out wearing his robes. Does not look like a monk's robe? Very interesting. But the original use of this cross was by the pagans. Now, this cross, when it traveled to Egypt, evolved. And when the Phoenicians connected with the Egyptians, a new type of cross came into being. Many of you know this. It's the Ankh, or it's commonly called the crux ansata, which means the looped cross. But we call it the Ankh, which is the Egyptian name. Now, the Ankh is also one of the most ancient crosses. These days, the Coptic Christians, that's the Christian church in Egypt and in Ethiopia, use the symbol regularly as a Christian symbol. But really, it goes older than that. It's a pagan symbol. And many of you who know that I love the goddess Isis know that many times in pictures of Isis, they show her holding this type of cross. So it's not a Christian cross, it's a pagan cross, it's an ancient cross, and it represents eternal life. Many people speculate that it's the crux ansata, the Tau cross, where humanity reaches to divinity, okay? And then the loop was added to represent the cycle of life or reincarnation, meaning that when we reach to the heavens, we have eternal life. And life moves in a circle. So this is believed very much to be part of the meaning of this cross. So if you're somebody and you're thinking, Bob, I'm looking for a magical symbol, something I want to wear, it's very easy to find, the Ankh which is a cross. And now this is a great cross because, especially for those of you who are, some of you have hardcore Christian families and you may not be able to wear a pentacle. A lot of times you can get by with wearing this, and if they say what it is, ask what it is. You say, oh, it's a Coptic cross. And they look up Coptic cross, they'll see it. It's part of the Orthodox Egyptian church. So these days it's used by pagans and Christians. And so, there are many pagans I know who wear this cross and they don't think a thing about it. So this is an option if you enjoy the look of a cross, yet want to have a stronger pagan identity, you could wear this as well. Now, excuse me, I'm losing my voice here. As many of you know, I've also been involved in the Rosicrucian movement many years ago. One of my, oops, I didn't bring my other one here, but this is one of my Rosicrucian crosses. The Rosicrucians generally use a gold cross with a red rose in the center or a red stone. And this was the cross I wore as a Rosicrucian. And it represents humanity achieving its fulfillment. The cross is supposed to be somebody with their arms outstretched, greeting the morning sun. Well, it's hard to see here, I don't have room, but see if I put my arms straight out. Many of their symbolisms represent somebody greeting the sun with their arms out. And the stone, the rose in the center of the red stone, represents the opening of the heart to eternal truths. So this is another symbol. The rose cross is also a symbol. It's not necessarily Christian, but is a cross. Okay? Now, another way that you can look at the cross is it's also a sign of spiritualism. As many of you know, I was a spiritualist many years before I was a Wiccan. And these days in the spiritualist church, the symbol traditionally to represent spiritualism in the United States is the sunflower, because it represents the opening of the door. It's like the light of the spirit world. And as they say this in the spiritual church, as the sunflower faces the sun, so we face the light of truth. But what a lot of people don't know is that in the earlier days of spiritualism, it was a little more Christian focused. And today, even still today, in many spiritualist churches, they have a picture of Jesus in the church or a cross on the wall or above the altar. Though today, the spiritualist church isn't necessarily explicitly Christian, they recognize that they have a Christian history and a Christian background. Now, when I was in England, I saw a number of spiritualist churches, and this is actually, I lived in England before I was involved in spiritualism. But what's very interesting is that in England, you still see this, many of my UK viewers, you can probably testify this, that in England, the colors of spiritualism are traditionally blue and white. Many of their churches are painted white and trimmed with the windows and the doors in blue. In America, we kind of have a similar tradition, like Episcopal churches usually have a red door, and you guys are Episcopalian or come out of that background. It's like kind of almost like traditions, like every Episcopal church gets a red door. It's become kind of their color symbol, the red door. Well, in spiritualism, it's like the blue door and the blue cross are symbols. Now, in America, you don't see that as much, but it used to be here as well. And a lot of times outside of like spiritualist churches, they would have a blue cross outside. Sometimes it'd be illuminated. And so the blue cross became a symbol of spiritualism. In fact, I'm going to put up here a series of pictures now that you can see that show the blue cross in some of the blue and white color schemes that are associated with spiritualism. Take a look at these. So as you can see, the blue cross and the colors blue and white are still predominant in the United Kingdom around spiritualist movement. You used to see it more here in the United States. You don't really see it much anymore, as they've kind of done away more with the cross and gone with the sunflower. But I still like the old-time spiritualist cross. And so a lot of times if I'm going to a place where it's predominantly spiritualist, or, it's, spiritualism is the focus, a lot of times wear my blue cross because it's a symbol of that movement. And if I'm working as a spiritualist, I'll use this symbol. I have a few blue crosses. In fact, I'll show you. This is my one little favorite one. This is a stainless steel blue cross. I also have one that's done in turquoise, blue turquoise. So there's another one of my blue crosses, as you can see it. Isn't that beautiful? And I also have this keychain, which actually I just hang on the wall, which is a blue cross. It's done in blue enamel. And so the blue cross is, as I said, is an older traditional symbol of the spiritualist movement. So the reason I bring all this up is a lot of you have said that, you used to like wearing crosses. Not a lot, but some have told me. So you used to wear a cross, but you said, now that I'm Wiccan, I don't think I should wear a cross, but I still like the cross, even though I don't recognize it in the way I used to. What do? Well, as I say, you don't have to throw out the baby with the bathwater. If you want to wear a cross, I say wear a cross. Your symbol is what you want it to be. Now, a traditional Baptist, Christian would say, oh, that's Jesus' sacrifice, and salvation for sins. But a spiritualist would say, this represents the opening of the door to the spirit world, and that Jesus was a master medium, and he resurrected from the dead to show us that life is eternal. Spiritualist principle, eternal life, spirit communication, all that's communicated in the blue cross. So if you're somebody, and I know a number of people here have been involved in spiritualism, you might want to wear, if you don't want to wear a pentacle, maybe you're not feeling connected to that side, maybe you're not Wiccan, but you want to wear something mystical, you might want to explore wearing a cross pendant, especially if you love spiritualism. It's an old style symbol of the movement. So, I don't feel the need these days to not wear crosses. As I've examined the meaning of the cross, even though I may not theologically agree with the Catholic Church on every point, I've decided no longer to view this symbol as an oppressive symbol, but to claim it in the light that I understand it, which is a spiritual symbol of the power of the spiritual world. Now, another thing to know about crosses, especially for you Wiccans, is that many of the Wiccans, or witches I should call them, the brujas of Mexico, wear crosses. Mexican witchcraft is more heavily influenced by Catholicism than in North America or in United States. But the Wiccans of Latin America, of Mexico, Central America, also say that the cross represents the four elements: earth, air, fire, and water. And so it can be a sign outwardly you pass as a Christian, especially if you're in some of these countries where it's just not an option to be a Wiccan. You can wear a cross and in good faith claim it as your symbol, because for you it represents the elements. So try to get, for those of you, I know a lot of people have still a lot of pain associated with the cross. I'm not trying to force the cross on anybody, but I'm saying that when we rediscover it as a magical symbol, we can make peace with it and find healing and find a symbol of power. Many spiritualists have often said that when they put the blue cross up on the wall in their seance room, it makes them feel safe. And I understand that. I think a lot of us who grew up in the Judeo-Christian tradition still on some level psychologically recognize the cross as a symbol of safety, at least on a deeper level. And so it can still be a protective symbol. And many people today wear crosses as a charm to deflect evil. It's interesting because some of my devout Christian friends would never be caught dead wearing a pentacle, right? But you better know they tell me they don't go out of the house without their cross on. And I say to them, well, what's the difference? I said, oh, my cross connects me to God. And I said, well, my pentacle connects me to God. So really, we're both wearing magical charms. And so I think that the power of a charm is within the intent in which you wear it. because I used to be as a member of the spiritualist movement, I still have a great love for spiritualism. My work as a psychic is based in spiritualism. I can wear the cross from a spiritualist context and feel totally at peace with that. So I'm not saying everybody has to do this, but I'm just offering this as something for you guys to think about, okay? So I would encourage you, go to look up Rosicrucian. There's a lot of websites of Rosicrucian. Amorc has it. They talk about the rose cross, the symbolism of that. Look up the Ankh, look up the history of that. And look up spiritualism, Christian spiritualism and early spiritualism. You'll find that the cross has been throughout all these different movements. And it may give you a new understanding, a new appreciation for it, okay? Anyways, guys, just want to share that with you today. I hope that gives you some insight. Tell me in the box below, do you ever wear a cross? Do you have a cross you like? What does it mean to you? Maybe you don't wear the cross anymore and you want to tell me about that. That's okay too. But, maybe you're at a point where you're saying, you know what, maybe I'll try the cross. So explore all the symbols, You get to interpret the symbol as you want to interpret it. I refuse to look at the cross anymore and be oppressed by it and let it remind me of people that were bad. I'm accepting it and redefining it in my terms. And now it has power for me again. Well, guys, listen, thanks for being here. Love you guys. Keep it here at Spirit Channel. We got more coming. Tomorrow is, what's it, Thursday? Vlog Thursday. We'll have something fun. Make sure to be back here. And if you didn't see yesterday's video, we had messages from the spirit world. So definitely check that out. And if you got time on your hands and you're bored, pop over to my website at robert-hickman.com. I'll have the link in the box below. And pick up some reading material. While you're there, you might want to explore booking a private reading with me. Well, guys, you're the best. I love you. We'll see you back here tomorrow. And until then, may you blessed be. I'm going to meditate on my cross a little more.